Day of Defeat, Valve's World War II FPS franchise that has been laying abandoned for the last, 15 years? It's in serious need of some love. Valve has a prime IP on their hands that, despite of a lack of content, let alone a new full-scale release, has a dedicated player base that is slowly but surely dwindling away. Nonetheless, it is still there, so if you want to experience Day of Defeat Source, or even the original, you can do that. At least here in Europe, you will find populated servers every evening of the week. Back when Day of Defeat Source was in its prime days, Valve seemed to have more planned than what was actually released. Day of Defeat launched with a handful of maps remade from the original, and with subsequent updates more maps followed, including a new demolition game mode that took cues from the older game. One thing that stayed true throughout all the updates is the localization of the levels. Especially Day of Defeat Source has a distinct art style, a semi-realistic interpretation of the battles in France and Italy taking place around the year 1944. I said semi-realistic because not all props are time accurate, and some things are just not proportioned realistically. This modern railcar, for example, not really fitting for the time and place. And proportions-wise, these railway tracks, anything but a flatbed wagon designed for these tracks would fit through this narrow archway. But that's okay. Day of Defeat Source never aimed to be realistic in its gameplay and map design. It aimed to be fast-paced fun, no hardcore simulation. Yet the atmosphere of France and Italy was transported quite well. By the way, talking of maps, have I ever mentioned how much I adore Donner, Cult and Avalanche? Well, I suppose you could tell if you follow me on Twitter. As it seems, there was one project in the works at Valve that expanded the scope of the game beyond France and Italy. Unused models suggest they were going to move the game to Germany and also shift the art style and therefore architecture a little bit as well. These facades for downtown buildings appear to be far more detailed than what we were used to from Day of Defeat Source back in the day. Mind that these were designed around 2005 for the Source 1 engine. These big props had been placed in an unreleased concept map titled DoD Köln, or Köln, the German name for the city of Cologne, a possible remake of DoD Köln from the original Day of Defeat game. On the concept map, German city buildings are shown alongside an assortment of Half-Life 2 props used as placeholders. And just to diffuse any speculations of this being any other project than Day of Defeat, notice these little flags up there? They don't really fit in Half-Life or Counter-Strike. By the way, actual swastikas is something not seen in Day of Defeat since the very early betas, and I assume for the final release these would have been replaced too, at the very least in Germany. Some of the props created for this canned project are still included in the game's files. They consist of this hotel building, 2 houses containing shops on the ground floor, an apartment building, and what appears to be a representative building for what could be a governmental office. Isabelle Lemay and Stéphane Gaudet were responsible for establishing style guides for various games and maps for Valve's video games at the time. All of these interesting city models were created by them and can be seen on Mrs. Lemay's ArtStation website to this day, right alongside a selection of newer works. I think it would have been super interesting to see where this design could have gone. Seeing a full street battle within a larger Central European city would have been something new for Day of Defeat Source, as most maps have been more rural or focused on smaller buildings and towns. These big houses could have made the map more linear, with less curvy paths than what we are used to in Day of Defeat Source. So I think some more ruins, broken up by parks and railway lines, could have been introduced to mix this up. All very interesting indeed. This is something I threw together in the editor, just letting the ideas flow free, roughly sticking to the design shown on the prototype map DoD Köln. I think it looks interesting, certainly something I would like to pursue further, unless Valve suddenly decides to do something similar. Would be nice. Valve, how about another update for this, or release some unreleased maps? So, what do you think of this cancelled project? Especially of the slightly different design directions they seem to have planned out. As always, I am interested in reading your opinions in the comment section down below. At this point, a special thanks to our supporters on Patreon who of course got to see this video first. To them and everyone else, thank you for watching. Have a nice day, and as always, goodbye and guten Tag. Oh yeah, and if there's ever going to be a new Day of Defeat, I definitely want paratroopers back. They were just cool. And the British were also pretty fine. They need more guns though.